Hello and welcome to another episode of the BorderlineDad podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. If you don't know, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and depression. I have two kids, one with autism, one with dyspraxia. In starting this whole podcast journey, my initial goal was to share my experiences, my stories, my thoughts and feelings on things, and make other people feel not so alone. I know what it's like to feel absolutely, completely, utterly alone and misunderstood, and like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and I never want any other person ever to feel that way. So my goal is to do the best that I can to make that happen, to make people feel not so alone. Eventually, after a few months, I moved into other areas of mental health. I talk about self-care, I talk about triggers, I talk about a lot of different things, talk about various disorders. Now, I want mental health to be taken as seriously as a black eye, as serious as a broken bone, a burst appendix, something like that. I also want to erase the stigma around asking for help, reaching out to a friend or a family member or a professional. I want to thank you all for being here today. Whether it's your first time or your 1,000,000th time, I really do appreciate you being here. It means more to me than I could ever accurately express. I hope you enjoy the episode. And again, thank you for being here. So today I guess I'm going to talk about relationships, friendships, and romantic relationships. You know, having BPD, whenever I feel something, whenever I'm interested in someone, I go at it so hard, so intense, because that's how my brain works, and I'm kind of cringing talking about this, because it brings up a lot of bad memories. This is something that I don't know, I knew that I wanted to talk about, so I knew it would be very difficult. But anyway, so I'm going to start off with this girl I met in high school who ended up becoming my wife, ex-wife, baby mama, whatever. So, when I first met her, it was the typical high school sweetheart story. I was a freshman. I was in woodshop class, and she was a sophomore. And she had come in to deliver a message. And her friend was the girlfriend of the kid I just happened to be partners with in woodshop at the time. So it was like a weird connection. And when I first met her, the emotions were so intense and so strong. I didn't know why, because I never believed in love at first sight. I never felt it before. And people always said, you'll know when you feel it. But I feel things differently. I always have. So I just didn't know, I guess. I didn't know what to expect. But it was love at first sight. And, we became friends, just because we had the mutual friend, and I had the most intense feelings where my brain was constantly just buzzing as it was, and then when I was hanging out with her, it was just fucking on fire, in a good way though. Which is weird. My brain's on fire in a good way. I don't know. That sounds weird. But anyway, I knew that we were meant to be together. I knew it. And so I proceeded to ask her out. And she said no. I was like, all right. But those feelings never went away. I wasn't even crushed. I was just like, shit. All right, I'll try again. And I proceeded to ask her out for 3 years. I was persistent. And eventually those no's turned into maybes. And those maybes eventually turned into, all right. In an earlier podcast, I had talked about how May 9th, 2009, I was going to commit suicide. Nobody had known. None of my friends knew. Obviously, it's not like I was going to announce it. My friends knew that I was depressed and that I was devastated at the thought of never being with this girl. The girl did not know any of this, obviously. I mean, she knew I liked her, but she didn't know anything about my emotions. She didn't know about how intensely I was feeling about her, how depressed I was. And so I was expressing to my friends that it was never going to happen, and I was never going to find love, and whatever. May 8th, 2009, those maybes, she was just like, yeah, all right, whatever, let's give it a shot. And I started doing a little jig in my chair in the middle of class, and we had a math class together. So having BPD sucks. I didn't know anything was wrong with me. I did know things were wrong with me at the time. I just didn't know what, and I didn't really care. I didn't want to see a shrink. I didn't want to see a therapist. My experience with therapists, they would always bring up my parents' divorce, and they never wanted to talk about anything else. And, of course, I was too afraid to talk about the abuse that I was suffering. So, I was not used to winning in life. And when she said yes, it felt like a major win. Of course, I wasn't big into social media then. And so, I just told everyone I knew, and I cried. I was so happy. Sometimes I can't control my emotions, and that's ultimately, I believe, was one of the many downfalls of our relationship. Let's skip ahead. Before I skip ahead, I want to let you know how intense my feelings were for her. I wanted to marry her fresh out of high school. I did not. I waited to propose until our 3rd anniversary of dating, and then I think it was the following December we got married. It was actually on my dad's birthday, and I'm sad to say that I didn't realize it was my dad's birthday at the time. Our wedding date. Pearl Harbor, also on that day. Didn't know that either, but I probably would have if I paid more attention in school. Anyway, so, I'm going to skip ahead a bunch. My emotions at the time, I was happy, but I was still depressed. And it's weird to say. I had landed my dream girl. I had married my high school sweetheart. We had kids. Everything was great. But at the same time, it's like I had everything, and I wasn't happy. And, again, with my emotions, I was never, content. I was never yeah, all right, I'm having an all right day. Nah, it was either this is the best fucking day ever, or this day's shit, I hate it. It was never in between. And that was rough, and that took a toll on both of us, because I was never physically abusive to anyone I've ever been in a relationship with. I was never physically abusive to my children. I might have tried spanking them once or twice, but that felt so wrong. I never ever did it again. And that was before I had my emotions in check. So I would get so fucking pissed over the slightest thing, the slightest misunderstanding. Everything had to go my way. I had to be early everywhere. If I had made plans and something interrupted those plans, or plans got canceled, whether we could help it or not, I was fucking furious. And I used to have a real anger issue. Like I said, I was never physically abusive, but I yelled a lot. I never name called. I was never calling names, you stupid fucking bitch, whatever. It was never that. It was just me yelling because I was angry. And a lot of times I couldn't help it. It was like, if you're a nerd, I'm a huge nerd, geek, I love comics. It's like, Bruce Banner and the Hulk. They were at one point two separate consciousnesses. Anyway, it was like Banner, when he was in Hulk mode, when he was the Hulk, Banner could see everything happening. He could feel the anger and the emotions and all that shit. But he could not control it. He couldn't pick sides. He couldn't, he wasn't necessarily a good guy, but he also wasn't a bad guy. Like, he would just destroy everything. And Banner was helpless. Banner was essentially looking on from the inside, unable to stop it. And that is probably one of the most accurate descriptions of BPD I can give from my point of view or from my perspective, because we would have disagreements where I would just lose my shit, and I would scream and I would yell, and I would be such an asshole. And she did a lot of fucked up shit, but I wasn't innocent either. When I was tired, my emotions were 10 times worse. They were, and sometimes I would get angry even when it didn't make sense. And I look back on how I was as a parent when when my kids were 2, like when my son was 2 and 3. When my son was 3, I screamed at the top of my lungs at him constantly, and I did so much damage to him mentally, and I've done a lot to try and make up for that, but that's something that doesn't ever go away. It's always in my head, and I imagine it's always in his. So my relationship with my kids definitely was affected because I couldn't control my emotions. My relationship was suffering because one of the reasons was because I couldn't control my emotions. And when I took a third shift job, it paid good. It paid good. It wasn't a hard job, but like physically hard, but it was mentally, emotionally draining. My energy was gone. And not just because it was third shift, but because my now ex-wife had an opposing schedule to mine. So when we worked, essentially, I would come home, she'd go right to work until 7 at night. And I hate talking about this, but, there were times where she was off. But when she was off, I would never want to do anything fun with her or the family. I would just want to sleep. And so I kind of checked out, I checked out. And I wasn't there. I wasn't present anymore. I was miserable in the relationship anyway. We both obviously were. And my emotions, it was often like being Bruce Banner and being trapped inside the Hulk and watching fights happen and watching my brain and my emotion just fucking explode and wanting to stop but not being able to. I'd considered anger management at one point, but I wanted to try and get a handle on it in other means. I went to regular therapy. I started going to therapy, and that was around the time my ex abandoned us and children. And that blew my mind. That absolutely, I didn't know how to cope. I had mental breakdowns. I would lay the children down, and then I would call my mother on the phone, time I try to keep it not monotone, but I try to keep my emotions hidden. There was no hiding this. My entire world had just been ripped apart. I had been through more heartbreak than I ever could handle, and if I didn't have kids, I would have killed myself. It was that bad. But I had kids who needed me, and they had essentially lost a parent, and I couldn't put them through the pain of losing another one. So I survived. And, I realize, again, that other people have been through worse trauma than I ever could. I have a friend who I won't mention, but she lost a mother and a grandmother in a at the same time in a very horrific crime, and I don't know what that's like. I've lost family members, but I just don't know what she went through. I couldn't imagine. But so then, I moved into Mom's house, and I tried to move on very quickly because I could not stand having this big void in my heart, where a relationship and where love and warmth used to be. My heart was cold. It was gathering dust, and I had a frozen heart, and I needed to unthaw it. And, my problem was that, obviously, even for months afterwards, I was an emotional wreck. I was a broken man, and I'm not even trying to exaggerate. I was fucking broken. And I had to support my kids. I had to still be there for them, but it was so much fucking harder. And in the relationship, I had felt like a single dad for longer than I actually was, but now it was 100,000 times worse. And the worst part is before I was with my kids all the time, and I have them 100% of the time now, but when we first split, she was taking the kids 3-4 days a week overnight, and so I would be without them for days at a time, and I couldn't handle it. And I'm thankful that it worked out the way I did, because I have them full time, and it's the best damn job I ever had. And she's a shitty fucking mother who is not even a mother. She doesn't deserve to be called a mother. She's a crappy aunt who maybe visits once a year type deal, But anyway, I was trying to move on. I was trying to move on and be there for him, and I wanted to fill this void, because I felt like if I filled the void, that I would emotionally get myself back on track and be able to parent better, I guess. I don't know. I was trying to get into a relationship for all the wrong reasons, and so I tried. I literally reached out to like almost every girl I was even kind of friends with, and they were all just kind of either like, fuck you, or there's literally, I have no interest, not even a little bit, or no, or what, and I'm kind of glad they all did that. I even tried dating. I even tried like kind of hinting that I wanted to go out with my best friend at the time, which I wouldn't, and it wasn't even me talking, it wasn't my dick talking, it was my heart trying to fill that void. And I don't know what I would have done had we dated, and then that relationship soured and we ruined it, and then we weren't even friends anymore. She, my best friend, ended up helping me get through that time. I have a matching tattoo with her on my upper thigh that she got me. She got us. She took me out to get a tattoo, man, and she listened to me bitch and moan and complain, and she fucking was like, listen, man, I'm trying everything I can, and you're kind of being a bit much. And she's like, you just gotta let it hurt. And you know, she was right. She was right. I started vaping pretty hard. You know, I had tried cigarettes a while back, but like it wasn't. I could never get into it, and I didn't want to try pot again. So I picked up vaping. I did that for quite a while. But then like I developed a chronic cough, and so I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'll stop. I've learned my lesson. It was kind of like, I vaped heavily too. I was vaping all fucking day. And so, you know, I quit that. And when I was vaping, I mean, there's nicotine in there, so like it calmed me down. And it you know, still fucked up, but it kind of helped a little bit take the edge off the stress, you know. You know, I got set up dating a few people. Like, people tried to set me up, but it never worked out. You know, they were always crazy. You know, they were always like, yeah, I got 4 kids, and I don't have custody of any of them, and I want more kids, and I don't have teeth, and I've done drugs, and I'm heavy into this, that, and that. And I'm just like, dude, no. And they're like 10 years older than me, and it just, it's fucking never would have worked. We ended up trying to date, but she was into me, but I was feeling like I was forcing myself to give a shit and try, and it did not feel right. So we didn't really date. I don't think we did. And, you know, I had someone set me up on another date, and that person just ended up using me to go see a movie, and we never talked again. So it was like, and it wasn't even a date, because I said the word date, and she almost canceled us hanging out, and I was like, well, whatever, man, fine. And, you know, I tried dating sites and dating apps and Facebook and all this other shit, and once in a while I would talk to someone, like I would connect or match with someone, and my feelings and my emotions, like, would always be so goddamn intense, and I could never help it. I would just, it was so bad and so cringy. Like, every time I would connect with someone, I would scare them off. One lady, we friended on Facebook, and we had a date planned, and I don't know, I was like, oh, you're so cool, you're so beautiful, blah. And I was just so fucking intense, and I was like liking a bunch of her pictures, not thinking about it, and she's like, dude, you're too much, man, you're fucking liking all my pictures and being really weird, and we haven't even met yet. And, you know, I had such a hard time because, like I've said, because of this thing I have, my emotions skyrocket, or they plummet deep into the middle of the earth. Like, there's no fucking balance. There's none, and there never has been, there never will be. So dating is near impossible, and if you know anything about BPD, or if you've done research, or you have it yourself, you know having a relationship is near impossible. At least in my experience. But no, I've read that people with BPD have a harder time dating, and being in a relationship with someone who has it is certainly fucking challenging. And it's almost like sometimes I became another person, you know? And I became another person, not trying to be someone else, not because not for any other reason than I was trying to be, I was trying to fill the void, and I was being so intense anytime anyone would talk to me. I was going about it so wrong, and I ruined a lot of friendships, and I ruined a lot of what could have been. And like, even recently, man, like, I reconnected with a friend, and then it was just like, let's fuck. And I was so Like, I let my dick do the talking. Like, I never, like, for a long time, I never healed, I guess, or I never allowed myself to heal, so I was always trying to fill the void for all the wrong reasons, and, you know, so I could possibly become maybe a little emotionally stable. And you know, when everything went down with the ex, over the course of the following year, I learned so much. Well, 2 years, actually. I learned so much, and I promised myself that, you know, if I ever found myself in another relationship, I would do everything I possibly can to maintain it and to love the person and care for the person. And I wouldn't be in a relationship if I didn't feel anything, because I didn't want to force anything. And, you know, I tried for 2 fucking years. And it was weird because towards the end, I actually found myself in a place where, you know, I didn't really care anymore. I was so drained mentally, emotionally. I was so drained. I couldn't even take it anymore. My emotions wouldn't even spike like they used to. Like, I literally would wake up, change the kids, feed them breakfast, send them off to school after I've gotten them ready, obviously. And then I'd go to work. I'd come home, you know, I'd get the kids, I'd play with them, feed them, change them, bathe them, whatever, bedtime. And it was just, I got into such a cycle. I was so fucking bored. And, you know, my brain's kind of started to, like, I feel like it almost emotionally shut down, because things that used to piss me off, I just didn't give a shit about anymore. I was just like, whatever, man. Fucking block the roadway, or, you know, block the area in my apartment complex where I'm supposed to drive. Fuck it. Oh, you cut me off? Whatever, man. I don't give a shit anymore. I didn't give a shit about anything. I didn't give a shit about rude customers. I didn't give a shit about not being tipped. I didn't give a shit if my kids had a meltdown. I just became so fucking whatever. You know, my response to everything was like, oh, whatever, man. I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't care. And so I even started to get to a place, while being in this whatever, man, state, I got to a place where I didn't care if I met anyone. I didn't care if I ever found love again. Like, if I did, I did, but I'm not fucking looking anymore. I'm so done looking. I was so, like, I deleted my apps. I hadn't deleted my profiles just in case, for some reason, I changed my mind down the road. Like, at the time, I was done, but I figured, like, oh, you know, I want to come back a month from now just for shits and giggles and check in. I will. So I did that, and then I kind of forgot about, like, the whole, like, Facebook has this dating thing, and, you know, it's like a Facebook dating. It's not an app, but it's like one of those pages, you know. It's one of those services. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I guess it was like an app, but I didn't have to download it or anything. And I matched with 2 people on there, and one of them was like a polyamorous relationship, you know, with a transgender person who was transgender, which is fine. You know, sexuality, or who you consider yourself, or what you consider yourself, pronouns, none of that has ever mattered to me. Like, if you're a good person, you're a good person, and if I somehow fall in love with you, I don't care. You know what I mean? But the thing that I didn't jive with was the polyamorous thing. I don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white, transgender, 70 feet tall, you know, a foot tall. I don't care if you're non-binary. I don't care if I don't care. Like, if you're a good person, you're a good person. But like I said, the polyamorous thing really bugged me, because I I don't know, man. This person had multiple partners and they had kids, and I'm just not only had before I didn't give a shit. Not only did I want to find a relationship, but I wanted to find a potential parent for my kids. Another parent for my kids. Like I'm bisexual, so I don't care if you're, I don't care, male, female, whatever. And I just wanted to find one person, and I felt like, a polyamorous relationship wouldn't work in my situation, and it's not something that I'm a fan of. I like monogamy. I like, one relationship with one person, one-on-one. And if you are polyamorous, like, cool, man. Like, I'm so relaxed now, and I'm so laid back. I'm in a place in my life where I'm like, I don't care. You want to have multiple partners. You want to fall in love with multiple people. You want to do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt me. I don't care. You do you, man. If you're happy, you're happy, long distance relationships, though, they're hard, but like, it's worth it, But anyway, so I unmatched myself with this person who the polyamorous relationship person. She's like, yeah, I'm married, I have partners. I'm like, okay. And I couldn't do that, because I got 2 kids, and I got to think about them, and I got to think about, whatever. And so this other person I matched with, they had said that they had been through a lot, and they said that they were not in a rush to do anything. They were going to be slow as a snail, essentially. They didn't say those words, but they said, you're going to have to be patient with me. And of course, being who I am, the emotions, and being in the mind state that I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't really care. Like, if it works, it works. And we started talking, and of course, after talking for a while, my brain just fired up again, Like, I got those butterflies in my stomach. My brain fired up. And of course, being who I am, and having BPD, and having the fucking emotional stability of a hamster, I wanted to go out with this person. I wanted to date right away. I wanted to be with them, and if only they'd give me a chance, I'd show them how awesome I can be. That sounds so fucking egotistical, but like, I want to show them that I can be a good person, and that not all people are assholes. Most, maybe, but not me. Just give me a chance. I want to prove that I'm such a better person than I was 2 years ago. Even emotionally, I've kept my emotions in check, but obviously I had to be patient. And I told myself it was worth it, because, in talking to this woman, I really, really started to feel something. And it was different. It wasn't my lust. It wasn't my desire to just fucking just get on with it. Like, I felt some kind of bond forming. I felt like a love, which I had not felt in years. And of course, me being me, after talking for a while, we ended up dating. We ended up, eventually, but I'm kind of blabbering here. But we talked, and we started expressing how we each had feelings for each other. And I ended up saying, I love you, like, before we even fucking met. But that's my fucking emotions. I'm never going to say I love you if I don't mean it. That's the thing, though. And so I found myself saying it, and I was like, holy shit. Surprised myself. Somehow, that did not scare her off. And we ended up meeting. We ended up meeting in a coffee shop. And I drove about 45 minutes to get there. But it was worth every damn second. We had 2 dates back to back. you know, we had one on a Friday, one on a Saturday, and I went into the one on Friday very skeptical. Like, if it didn't work, it didn't work. If it did, it did. But I really fucking hoped it did. I don't know, and it did, and we connected and we talked, and when I got home, I ended up getting the notification that, because I had expressed to her that I wanted to be in a relationship with her, and I told her that, I wanted to do that whole Facebook in a relationship thing because I wanted to show her off to the world. And it's true. I do. And so I got that notification that she wanted to be in a relationship, and we, of course, are in one now. And she's so she's so, like, amazing and artistic and talented and beautiful and funny. My kids have since met her, and they love her. They love her more than they love their own mother. And all right, that's kind of jumping the gun. But her mother, the kid's mother, are not present. They video chat for maybe 30 seconds a night when she can, and they see her maybe once a month. And they flock to her. And they didn't leave her side. And my son, who's usually shy, was all over her. My daughter was performing little concerts. They, they really like her. And they don't really have a lot of women to look up to. Like, they have my mom, they have my sister and grandma, whatever. But, like, this was someone different, And I love this woman with all my heart, and my kids really love her too. And she even seems to care more about them than their own fucking mother. Again, it's hard not to. I'm not going to bash anyone because, of course, that's not okay. But anyway, this person is so good. They're so awesome. They're so talented. They're so beautiful. They're so amazing and smart. And we love some of the same shows. And I haven't scared her away yet. I have actually, before her, I was set to go on a date with a few people. And separate occasions, obviously. But I had always used a Snapchat filter where I had, like, big glasses on and devil horns. And once people saw my real face on Facebook, or if I sent them a picture of my real face, they usually canceled the date right after that. Nobody ever gave me the fucking time of day. But this girl did. And my kids love her, and I love her, and God, she's my feelings again, My feelings are real. I know they're real because for 2 years I tried to date for the wrong reason. Oh, well, for a year and a half, or about a year and a half, I'd say, because I just wanted to fill the void. And then, I at that year and a half mark. Well, all right. So for the first year, it was genuinely just to fill a void, and then for about another half year, it was I just want to get laid, and then I kind of wanted to take it seriously. I wanted to find someone, a mate. And then about the 2-year mark is when I fucking just gave up and didn't care. And that's when I found her. And that's so amazing. I'm so happy. And I know my feelings are real because, like I said, for 2 years, almost 2 years, I was trying to fill that void for all the wrong reasons, and it never felt. I never had any emotions for any of the women I ever talked to. No matter how brief or how long we talked, I never really felt much. But ever since I've started talking to this girl, and ever since we started dating and whatnot, I've just been happier. I still suffer from depression. I still suffer from BPD. That's not something that is ever, in my opinion, just going to go away. I'm going to have that forever. But I feel like whether she knows it or not, I feel like she's really helping me manage it. And I feel like with her around, I'm just excited. I'm excited for the future brings. I've kind of mentioned to her that I don't really ever want to get married again. And I'm not trying to be negative, but divorce was such a pain in the ass. And, divorce is a pain in the ass in general. But when you have two kids and one parent who doesn't give a shit about them, or at least that's what it seems like, it's 10 million times worse. And the last thing I want to do is bring someone in and have the kids get attached. And then, obviously, if we were married, we would have to go through a divorce process. There'd be court and proceedings and maybe fights. And it's just, I think divorce is messy by nature. And if we were just dating, then she could just fucking leave. And I don't ever want her to leave. I love her with all my heart. My kids love her. But it would be a lot less messy. It would be a lot less complicated and certainly a lot less expensive. I told her that my current mindset is I'm never getting married again. And that's still my mindset. I don't plan on ever getting married again. I told her that if my emotions or if my thoughts or beliefs or whatever changes down the road and I ever proposed, which is not even a thought in the back of my head at this moment, not just because we're so new in the relationship, but also because I don't ever want to get married again. But I told her that if something like that ever happens and I ever wanted to marry her, that she knows she's fucking impressive and special and life-changing. And look, she is life-changing, and I love her. And I'm again, part of my emotions is anxiety, so I'm always worried about how I'm going to come off, how I'm going to come off, or how I'm going to sound or be perceived. I love her, and just because I don't want to marry her, that is not a negative thing. I wouldn't want to marry anyone, regardless if who I was with, man, woman, it doesn't matter. I'm not wanting to get married again, but if it happens, that really means something. I'm not gonna lie, while this person is amazing, and I love them, my heart is still being so incredibly cautious, and my brain, my emotions, want to jump in both feet first, dive in, fucking commit. Commit in the sense that, I don't know how to describe it, but I've obviously fallen for her. I love her very much, but I have to mentally prepare myself if she decides to split. If she decides to just get out while she still can, if I scare her off, I have to try to mentally prepare myself for that, because, and I know that's not healthy, but I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I'm in love with her, and I've told myself if this doesn't work out, I'm not even going to attempt dating again. I've obviously re-downloaded the dating. I re-downloaded the dating apps shortly before we met, or no, it was shortly after we met and we started dating. I downloaded them to actually delete my accounts, because you can delete the app, but your accounts are still there. So I downloaded them, delete all my accounts, deleted the apps, deactivated the Facebook dating, and I've done all that I can. My emotions are so fucked, because I don't know. She is incredible, and I could talk about her all night, but she is the real deal. I feel for her so much, and it was hard because when we first started talking, I wanted to be let's date, let's go out, let's meet, blah, blah, blah. And my brain was just like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. She's gonna run. But she didn't. And she's still here. And I've told her about my BPD. I've told her about my depression. I've told her about this podcast. And she's probably going to listen to this. Hi, babe. I love you. I hope you're having a good day whenever you listen to this. Emotions are a tricky thing. Changing subject kind of a little bit. Years ago, I stopped having a relationship with my father. We have one now. But I stopped the relationship because mostly in defense of my mother, but it was just petty, stupid games. It was my emotions. I was just kind of like, fuck off. Like, one time he had watched my son, and the family and I went to a movie, and we told him what time we were going to be back from the movie. And just before the movie got over, he had left my mom a voice message screaming, like, "You say you'll be back by now." And so I was so fucking pissed when I picked up my son that he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll babysit if you want me to again." And I was like, "That's not fucking happening. I don't think you're ever gonna see him again." And I just, I said shit that I didn't mean. I regretted it immediately, but what was said had been said. So, we've since rebuilt, I think, a relationship. We're trying. I'm trying, and I know he is. He's been through a lot too, but look, my emotions are still not where they should be. BPD is not something that goes away. And I haven't scared this woman off. I'm afraid I might. But she seems like she's really understanding. She seems like she is someone who is actually committed and loves me back, and she has told me she does. She also has a bachelor's in psychology, and as my mom says, that'll help deal with my issues. Thanks, Mom. But I'm as happy as I am, I'm nervous and I'm worried and I'm scared, and I always will be, because I'm falling for her, and I have the same feelings for her as I did for that woman back in high school. But this time they're stronger. They are stronger than the emotions I had for this other woman, and so I don't want to lose her. I'm so fucking afraid. But time will tell, It always does. I think it'll be okay. I just have to remind myself of what I've been through. And I know she's been through a lot too. And, I told her that we're here for each other. We can support each other, When I have, when I'm having a bad day, when she's having a bad day, we're there for each other. And she, communication, I believe is a key component in a relationship. You can't have a relationship without communication. And she's opened up to me. I've opened up to her. And I've never been more in love. I'm going to end it here. I don't really know how to go out on this one, but, I hope she knows that I love her, and I hope she knows that when I talk about my past, it is only to educate people. It is only there in case somebody else has been through a similar situation, to know that they're not alone. That's one of my biggest reasons for doing this podcast, is to make sure people know they're not alone. Because even though I was surrounded by family when I moved in with my mother, I had never felt more alone. I was in a deep pit of despair, and I did not see a way out. Thankfully, I survived, and that was all thanks to my friends, my family, my friends that I consider family, and to my new love, who is lighting the way, and even talking about her now, I'm smiling, and I love it. So I hope y'all have a good night. I'm thinking about switching up the outro. You know, I always say, like, always would love Borderline Dad, but you guys know I love y'all. So I think I'm just going to end it with, like, that's it for now. I'm the Borderline Dad. I don't know, man. I don't know how to end it. I don't want to do the outro, but you guys know I love y'all. So I hope y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.